So, in the previous class, we have discussed two routing protocols for multicast communication. That is multicast open shortest path first and distance vector routing for multicasting. Okay, DVMRP we call it as. Then we have another one which is CBT. This is core based tree approach. Okay. Compared to your previous, this core based tree approach is based on group shared protocol. If you remember the previous one, that was source based tree approach, right? This is group shared tree approach. So we will see how this CBT works. So group shared tree with random router. So we are going to select a router, or I can say this router as core router. So this core router will be taking care of doing multicast communication here. Okay. So can anyone say what is source based tree approach and what is group shared tree approach? So source based tree approach, for each and every router, you are going to have multicast routing tables and all those will participate in multicast communication. When I consider group shared tree approach, we are going to select a router as core router and we will be unicasting our data to this core router, and core router will have shortest multicast paths to all the networks. Okay. So here all the members like this member, all these people will communicate with their superiors. Okay. So I will say with this one, if I am interested in any group communication, this one will also share like that. This router will inform this router. Okay. This will inform what are the groups in which it is interested, and this router will communicate, this router will communicate, like that. Individual routers, they will be communicating with core router what are the groups in which they are interested in communicating. So can anyone say what is the difference when I consider this one and source based tree approach? The difference is here we are starting at leaf. These are leaves, right? We are starting at the leaf and we are going to the root node. But in the source based tree approach, we were starting at the root node and we were communicating down. For example, if you consider reverse path forwarding, we had grafting and pruning, right? Okay. If someone wants to communicate, they will send a message to the top layer. Like I want to communicate. If they do not want to communicate, they will send the same information. I want to go out of this particular group. So we had the communication happening from the top node, root node, and all the way till bottom node. But here the bottom nodes are exchanging the information about in which they are interested, and the information will be sent to core router. That is the difference I have in group shared tree approach. So after you select this core router, every router is informed of the unicast address of the selected router. So first you will fix one particular router as core router. We can call it as a rendezvous router, and this router address will be given to all the routers available. Now each router sends a unicast join message to show what is the group for which the particular router wants to communicate. Okay. So for example, if I have G1, G2, G3, G4, G5, there may be a router which is interested in G1, G2 and G5. There may be a router which is interested in G2, G4, G5. Okay. Like that, depending on in which groups the particular router is interested in communicating, that information will be sent as unicast message to this core router. This message passes through all routers that are located between the sender and the core router. What happens because of this one? For example, if I see this particular thing, if I consider like C is sending the information to R, okay, I have A in between. So A will come to know what are the routers which are available below that one and what is the router which is available above it. Similarly, D will have the information like what is the router which is available at the top of that one. So that information will be available with these routers. So each intermediate router extracts the necessary information from the message. It will have the unicast address of the sender. Okay, because who is sending you will come to know when you look into the data. Interface through which that particular packet has arrived. So a particular router may have several links available. So when I receive a packet, whether I have received on this link or I have received on this link or I have received on this link, I will come to know. And if I look into the particular packet, I will see what is the unicast address of that particular sender. So I'll get these two things. And every router knows its upstream router and its downstream router. Downstream router, how it knows? From that only I am getting this particular packet. So when I see the address, I will have that information. Upstream router, you will be sending to that particular router, right? So I will know both upstream router and downstream router information. And if I consider a router wants to leave the group, it sends a leave message to its upstream router. Who is at the top of you? To that particular router, you are going to send a message like I want to leave from this particular group. Okay. Then comparison. So, like as I said, if you consider DVMRP or MOSPF, the tree is started at the root. Okay. But when I consider CBT, the tree we are starting at leaves. Okay. The router is available at the top. From that we are starting the tree in DVMRP and MOSPF. And if I consider CBT, the root is started at the leaves, which are available at the bottom. And in DVMRP, the tree is first made, like you are constructing the tree. Then if someone is not interested, you are removing those particular entities. But in CBT, whether you want to come into the tree or not interested, that first we will be knowing. Accordingly, we will construct the tree here. Okay. Whoever is not interested, they won't be part of the tree itself. If you are interested, again you will send the information like I will take part in that particular tree formation. Okay. So these are the differences we have when we compare DVMRP, MOSPF with CBT. Then you can see here, like I have come to know who are interested in this particular thing. So the sender who wants to do multicast communication, he will send unicast message to this particular core router, and core router will be sending multicast packets on all links. Okay. So as you can see, unicast packet is represented in color and multicast packet is represented in black. Okay. So in CBT, the source sends the multicast packet encapsulated within unicast packet to the core router, and the core router decapsulates that one and forwards it to our interested interface. Okay, depending on whatever the shortest path available. So that is about core based tree approach. Then we have PIM. PIM basically stands for protocol independent multicasting. This one is available in two modes. One is dense mode, other one is sparse mode. Okay. So we will see these two things. So PIM DM is used in a dense multicast environment. For example, you have a local area network, and within that one you want to have communication, then multicast communication, then you can go for PIM dense mode. So this particular thing, like when I consider PIM DM, it is used when there is a possibility like each and every router are taking part of multicast communication. Okay. So for example, if I consider a local area network, and if I say like there are 10 routers available, if I have something like 8 routers are participating in multicast communication, then it is like almost all routers are communicating, right? Except 2 routers. So in that case, this PIM dense mode will be useful for us. It is like you are doing broadcasting there. Okay, you are sending information to each and every router. PIM dense mode uses RPF. What is RPF? Reverse path forwarding. And we will use, along with RPF, we are going to use pruning and grafting strategies so that you won't have any problem of sending the data to the nodes which are not interested in having communication. Okay. So PIM DM uses the same concept as RPF, but you are going to have pruning and grafting mechanisms here. Okay. However, it is independent from underlying unicast protocols. That means you are interested in communicating to the routers which are taking part in this multicast communication, but how router is delivering within that particular network using unicast communication, it is of not interest to you. Okay, you might be using any unicast protocol, but at the top multicast protocol we are going to use PIM DM. Okay. Then we have something called as PIM sparse mode or protocol independent multicasting sparse mode. This is useful where we have only less number of routers which are interested in communicating. Okay. PIM SM is similar to CBT, but uses a simple procedure rather than having a longer procedure which we have seen in CBT. Okay. So that is about PIM DM and PIM SM. PIM protocol independent multicasting. Why we are calling protocol independent multicasting is you are not bothered about what is the unicast routing protocol you are using, either in PIM DM or PIM SM. As I said, PIM DM is useful when we have almost all the nodes are taking part in communication, and we are going to use reverse path forwarding along with pruning and grafting. And if I have only less number of routers taking part in multicast communication, in such case I will be going with PIM sparse mode. This will be utilizing the concepts of CBT. Okay. So that is about the routing protocols. To summarize, we have seen unicast routing protocols, we have seen multicast routing protocols. Under unicast routing protocols, we have seen Bellman code algorithm. Based on that one, we have distance vector routing, and routing information protocol was implemented based on distance vector routing. Then we have seen Dijkstra algorithm, based on which link state routing is there, and we have implemented OSPF based on link state routing. And in RAP, we consider number of hops as a metric. When I consider OSPF, we were talking about shortest path travel. And if I go for path vector routing, we consider it as a slight variation to distance vector routing, where we consider how many number of autonomous systems are there when I am moving from source to destination. And there, depending on path vector routing, we implemented border gateway protocol, we call it as BGP. Okay. And then we moved to multicast routing protocols, where we said like we can go with multicasting or multiple unicasting, and we have compared these two things. What is multicasting, what is multiple unicasting, what are the issues you are going to have with multiple unicasting. Okay. Then we came into routing protocols of multicasting, like MOSPF. We said like same as link state routing, you are going to have link state advertisement packets which share the group information, like multicast group information will be shared in LSA, link state advertisement packets, and they will be doing Dijkstra algorithm to come up with what is the shortest path available. Then multicast distance vector routing, if I consider, we have seen like we might be going with flooding first, then we had the problem of looping, then we went to reverse path forwarding, again we had the problem of multiple packets coming to a particular router, then we said like we'll go with reverse path broadcasting, again we had some issues, then we went for reverse path multicasting, where we had the concept of grafting and pruning. Okay, so that is about multicast routing protocols based on source based tree approach. Then we have seen core based tree approach, group shared tree approach, and we have seen protocol independent multicasting sparse mode, protocol independent multicasting dense mode. Then the next thing is connected devices. It's like we have different computers available in the world, and it's like you will have to connect these computers to some devices so that they can communicate with each other. Okay. So it's like I might be using a hub, I might be using a link layer switch, I might be using a router. So when I consider hub, it is layer 1 device. When I consider switch, it is layer 2 device. So you are going to have both physical layer and data link layer available for this link layer switch. And when I consider router, it is 3 layer device and you are going to have physical layer, data link layer and network layer here. That means a router can understand physical layer bits, data link layer frames and network layer packets. All the things can be understood by routers. So the 3 categories of devices: hub at physical layer, link layer switch at first 2 layers, router the 3 layers. So when I consider a hub, it is something like just takes the information which it is receiving and regenerates the signal. Okay, it doesn't modify anything. It just acts like a repeater, or we can say like it is an amplifier which takes the input and amplifies the signal. Okay. So you can see here we have a hub and we have 4 devices available here. And if someone sends a packet, okay, A has sent a packet and all the nodes will be receiving that packet, but the node to which we are sending the packet, that will capture the packet and the remaining people will discard that particular packet. That is the thing we are going to see in hub. Okay. Then we have link layer switch. Okay. So this operates both in physical and data link layer. And when I consider this particular thing, it also regenerates the signal at the physical layer. But when we consider MAC layer, it is going to look at what is the source MAC address and what is the destination MAC address. At layer 2, it is capable of looking at what is the source MAC address we have, what is the destination MAC address we have. But your hub cannot understand MAC addresses because it is layer 1 device. So I have something like this. So I have a switching table where if I have this MAC address, I have to use port 1. If I have this MAC address, I have to use port 2. For this, I have to use port 3. For this, I have to use port 4. Like that, for each and every address, I have respective ports available. Okay. So whenever someone sends a packet, okay, like this particular node is sending a packet, and see what happens here. The switch looks into its routing table and it has figured out like the packet is meant for the destination 2 or the device which is connected on link 2. So it is forwarding only to that particular link, but it is not forwarding to next links. And how this switch come to know about what are the nodes which are available on which links. So first see here, like gradually it will be building the table. This is one of the important question. Like they will ask how switches or bridges learn about the topology, okay, or how they will be building the corresponding switching table. So see here, first the original packet you are going to have address and the corresponding port. So like this is the starting, I have whatever the table, I do not have any information with switch, but when node A sends a frame to D, okay, how it will send? It will start here the frame and it will be sending all the way to switch. So I have received some packet on port 1, right? When I have received that particular packet on port 1, I can see who is the sender. With that, I will come to know, like at port 1, I have this particular device. Okay, I have device A at port 1. Then, after D sends a frame to B, like initially, I don't know where D is available. So I will flood that information on 2, 3, 4. Initially, we will be doing like that when information is not available. Only when I can see the destination, I will be forwarding on that particular link. If I don't have information, I will just broadcast. Next, we are considering D has some information. Okay, let me just rub it. Okay, now D has some information. It will send that information on this particular part. Okay, and switch will come to know like on port 4 I have received a packet in which the source address is this one. Okay, so I can say D is available at 4. Okay, then B sends a frame to A. B is sending a frame. I have received something on 2. The source address is this one. So I can say like that address is available at 2. Then C is sending, after some time, C is sending a frame to D. Then it will come to know like on this link C is available. It doesn't know A, B, C, D, but it talks with respect to these MAC addresses. For our understanding, I am saying with respect to A, B, C. Okay. So whether this concept is clear, how switches are learning about their topologies?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. So there may be a problem of looping over here. Okay. So I have a packet coming from this node. I gave to this switch. Okay. I have D here. Basically from A to D I want to communicate. Sometimes there is a possibility like you will share here, you will share here. What happens? The two packets will be arriving at this particular point. Both switches forward the same frame. Both switches, just a minute. Both switches forward the same frame. I have received this one. Now again, D has some information to be sent to A. Okay, so it sends on these two things. Again, A will be receiving 2 packets. See here, same way A has received 2 packets. Okay, that is a problem we have. So looping problem has to be eliminated from switch. The same thing again we are replicating like the same packets are again coming back to this one. So we need to come up with one shortest path. Like for each node, if I have to go from the switch, there can be one switch from which we want to say like we will come up with the shortest path so that flooding like looping can be eliminated. Like that you will have to come up with a path. So it's like whatever the previous diagram we have seen, if I have to represent in the manner of a graph, I can consider like this. Okay, so I have different switches which are represented in square. I have LANs which are represented in oval shape, and different communications like sending 0 we are considering, receiving we are considering 1. Like that we can just represent a particular network with switches and LAN, and we can come up with shortest path. Okay, so from here if I have to go to any place, like the packet will go like this. Is there any other path to reach S5?
No, sir.
We don't have anything. So like you won't be having the problem of looping or multiple packets being delivered at S5. We are not talking about how this particular tree is formed. Okay, but if you remember your computer networks lab, we discussed Kruskal's algorithm. Okay, where we consider different switches and forming a shortest path. Okay, spanning tree formation we have seen, right? So a tree will be formed. Okay, and we can communicate without any cycles in this particular case. So that is what we have here. So entire graph if I see, this is the path where I should plot. I should not send anything. Okay. So next concept we have routers. As I said, routers, they operate in 3 layers: physical layer, data link layer, and network layer. So it understands the bit and the frames over here and the network IP addresses at the network layer. All the things will be understood by a router. So this is how you can consider a routing example. Okay, we have all the things available here. Switch, normal node switches. Again, these switches, different switches are connected with central router. Okay, so is it clear? Different routing protocols and corresponding devices.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. This ends